James and Carl arrived at the small hamlet with great anticipation. They were welcomed as guests by the Tsai family, and the wedding festivities then lasted for several days. When the celebrations were over, James played his portable organ and shared the gospel with them. And he was thrilled to hear them learn to sing songs of praise to the living God. And their musical abilities really warmed his musician's heart.
Now, Mother Tsai was really a leader in this community. She was full of questions, and intelligent questions. And on the last night, the two men witnessed something that they'd been longing for and hoping for. This family really believed that Jesus is the Son of God and had made atonement for them.
Since they did not know how to pray in Lisu, they asked James and Carl if God would mind if they prayed in broken Chinese. Would God mind if they sang the songs that they had learned? Then the family promised to come down to town to visit them and to learn more. This was the first family that James and Carl led to Christ, and it was exhilarating for them.
One day, J.O. Fraser was pleased to meet a 23-year-old man from the Korean people of Burma named Bartor. Bartor spoke fluent English, as well as the Lisu language. He was well educated, but more importantly, a well-taught and spiritually minded man. They went to the Lisu village and spent several days with the Tsai family, teaching them clearly from the Bible that the devil was a liar from the beginning.
Around about this time, Carl Gauman got engaged to be married and would be leaving. But Bartor encouraged Fraser, both by his new presence with him and also by his fluency in the Lisu language.
But at the same time, he began to realize his loneliness in the work, and he wrote to his mother many letters trying to describe to her what she needed to pray for. And it began to dawn on him that there was no way just a few workers could reach the thousands of Lisu that were around there on the mountains.
Well, time passed, and then a letter came from the China Inland Mission in Shanghai. This was a letter written by Mr. D.E. Host. He was well aware of the multitudes out of reach of the gospel message in western Yunnan. So he wrote and asked James if he'd be willing to take a survey of the area.
Fraser enthusiastically agreed to do the survey and set out on a 6 weeks reconnaissance of the area's vast mountain region, going places no European had ever seen before. It was during this survey that James began to see firsthand how demonism had control of these people.
This was the first time, really, that Fraser had met the powers of darkness head-on. This is something real. This is not make-believe. The people were in fear of evil spirits, and rightly so, and tried to please them. In one of the villages, to please the Great Spirit, the shamans, that is the priests of darkness, would encourage them to go up a ladder made of sharpened swords barefoot. And officially, once they were possessed and in a trance, they could do this and come down unharmed.
Fraser wrote this description of what he saw.
They say that no one who is unprepared would dare attempt it, for the blades would cut his feet to pieces. When at the top of the ladder they look down with glaring eyes and in unearthly tones give messages from the demon spirit.
He noted that one would think the onlookers regarded it as a kind of entertainment, but he found that to be far from the truth.
They all say that they wish they knew how to get rid of the burden, but they must do it, whether they want to or not.
He also noted that home after home that he visited had a traditional ancestor shelf for worshipping certain spirits. something that seemed deeply embedded in their culture. The time came for Carl Gammon to be married, and James continued to work alone. But then from 1913 to 1914, James Fraser went through a period of deep spiritual oppression that forced him to deal with the issues many would rather ignore. As Fraser reached out to the spiritually blinded Lisu, he became the object of an intense demonic attack. He found himself slipping into a paralyzing depression and despair.
Around this same time, Fraser suffered a significant setback. All but one member of the Tsai family went back to their old life and superstitions.
While I was away, their eldest grandson was taken ill with fever. But instead of coming to us for medicine, they listened to their neighbours and called in a witch doctor. It was the spirit, he told them, outraged by the pulling down of their herbal offering for the demons, who had come to take revenge.
The Tsai family took down their hymns and tracts and put up a new offering again. They promised to sacrifice a pig to the spirits as soon as they could afford it. They stopped singing and praying.
I think the whole foundations of his faith were really shaken. He realized he'd invaded the powers of darkness. He'd come into the devil's territory. He was alone there, and the few converts he thought had come through